Hello, 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 and welcome back to DLA Alternative. It's your boy Brandon, and I hope everyone is doing phenomenal as always. I want to jump right into this video, okay? And as you can tell by the thumbnail and title, yes, we are going to come the fuck on down, just like Price is Right, and we are going to talk about the Plinko scene with Eleven and Henry in the Rainbow Room, okay? It's during the Nina Project, and it's one of Eleven's flashbacks that we see, and I want everyone to go to Season 4, Chapter 6, The Dive, and it's during that chapter and we are going to talk about this scene, and there are some crazy things and interesting facts that may connect some of our other theories to this. So let's get right into this one because this one gets very fucking interesting if you ask me. So the scene starts off and it shows us that Eleven is in the Rainbow Room by the Plinko board, okay? And there are other children in there at this moment in time. And I believe this is right before they go to the rec room where they do the circle test, and then she gets extra time in the Rainbow Room, okay? So this is the scene before that. She also plays Plinko in that scene at one point. But I want you to keep in mind through this whole theory that there are a lot of comparisons to other people and to things that could happen in season 5. But right when we see this scene start, okay, we see Eleven stand up and she's about to put that chip into the Plinko board, all right? But there is already one in there. And I want you to keep in mind this is our very first fucking symbol. And this is very interesting to me because this is our first symbol of number 8. If you look at that chip that's already face down, and keep in mind that it is face down, right before she puts the other Plinko chip into the board to actually play the game, that Plinko chip is face down on number 8. And then all of a sudden the Plinko chip falls and it hits number 5. And she looks a little bit frustrated because that was not her target, obviously. But then take a look at what she does. She gets a little bit frustrated, but she stands right back up and puts another Plinko chip in there. She does not face that down. So my question to you is the fact that the number 8 is face down already, was she playing before and was that her first target? And why was it her first target? So just think about it like that could be a little fucking hint that maybe the first target was number 8 or something like that. Because I want you to keep in mind that what happens right after this is that she hits number 4 when she tries again, and she gets a little bit more frustrated this time because she's obviously not trying to hit those numbers. And then all of a sudden you get this creepy ass fucking Henry right behind her saying, "What number are you trying to hit?" And then she turns around and she gives this look like she doesn't really want to tell him. And she gives this look like she's thinking about a different number than she was really trying to hit. So I want you to keep in mind as well that she's kind of looking like she's thinking about telling him the right answer, but then she switches her answer. And I don't know if that's true, but it could be. But after she gives that look of thought, she gives a little breath and then she says number 3. And then Henry comes over and he sits down next to her and he's all calm and shit. And he's acting very fucking creepy if you ask me. So let me know your thoughts about that as well. However, basically he sits down and he tells her to slow down and that she needs to clear her mind. And that's very interesting to me, involving his character specifically here. And we know that Vecna later in the show does not have his fucking mind clear. He is infiltrated by that mind flayer. Yes, I said it correctly, the mind flayer. I love you guys. I'm just giving you a little shit for correcting my grammar, all right? I'm just playing around. But anyways, so basically he says to slow down and clear her mind, which is very fucking interesting to me. And then right after that, she tries again, okay? And she kind of takes a little breath like she's trying to listen to him, but she doesn't want to listen to him. And she gives that look as well. And then all of a sudden she tries again and she hits number 6. So she still did not hit her original target, at least what she told him, all right? And then this is when I want you to really pay attention to what Henry is saying at certain times, all right? So basically Henry says to her that she reminds him of somebody, and that she reminds him of somebody that he knows very well. And in this conversation, he's coming off like he's talking about himself, and I really truly think that he is. However, how he goes about this conversation, I feel there are some major hints involving other characters right here. So pay close attention when you rewatch this for yourselves. But basically he looks at her and he grabs the chip out of her hand and he looks at that number 1 spot and he puts it in there, but he puts it face down, just like the number 8 chip is already. So he puts his shit down kind of like a target, because if I am correct about this, and number 8 was Eleven's first target, and that's why it's face down in there, because the other ones that she didn't hit correctly are not face down, they're face up. So logically, she should have hit her target on the first one that we did not see, and he puts his face down just kind of like a target. So is this foreshadowing that later in this show that number one is going to be a target instead of somebody that can help? And also, I want to know your thoughts. Does that mean that number 8 could possibly be a target in this show? Because she wasn't in season 2 necessarily at all. But if we see a return to number 8, do you think number 8 is going to be coming to help? Or do you think that she is going to be a target, kind of like number 1 just did with his own chip right here? But this is the part of the conversation where Henry starts to use his own words to his advantage, and he tries to teach her a lesson in his own way. I'm just going to call it a lesson because I don't know what to really call it, but he tries to teach her something, or at least get into her head in a certain way. So she basically looks at him, put that chip in there, and she gets a little shocked, and she looks right at him and she goes, but Papa says he doesn't. And then he stops her and he goes, doesn't exist. And this is why I'm trying to say that he's trying to get into her head right away. He basically takes the words right out of her mouth so that she knows what he's talking about, or at least trust what he's talking about, because she was about to say the same exact thing herself. But basically, he uses this and he uses it to his advantage, okay? And basically what he says is that he has spent time with number 1 for years. So he's talking about number 1 as a completely different person. And yes, we know that he's kind of trying to hide his true identity here to 11. Or is he really? Because I have some ideas that what could be really going on in this scene is a lot different, or every scene that we see through the Nina Project at Hawkins' lab. I really truly think that we could be seeing shit that is not fully the truth, because 11 never completed that Nina Project, if you ask me. She did not full on complete her lesson because Brenner did not want her to leave, and there's a reason for that in my opinion. But basically, he's talking about number 1 as a completely different person, okay? So just keep that in mind. But basically, he says he spent years with 1, and he says right here, right in this very room. And he's talking, obviously, about the Rainbow Room right here. So he's talking like another person that has spent years with number 1 in this room. Keep that in mind, because it's very weird why he's discussing it like that. Even if he's just trying to hide his identity, why is he talking like this? And he starts talking about other people through this conversation while he's talking like this. So right after he says that, 11 asks him, well, where is he? And he stops her right away and he says, let's save that story for another time because it doesn't have a happy ending, or it ends badly or something like that. So the question is what is he talking about that ended badly right in this moment? Or is he talking about the fact that he ended up being stuck and becoming a prisoner at Hawkins' lab and basically a fucking lab rat? But we get an answer to that right after that, because I think he's talking about a bigger situation, and I'm really curious to what he's talking about specifically, because right after that, he basically says that 11 reminds him a lot of how number 1 was, and basically that everything was hard for him until one day that he walked up in this room and that everything changed, and that he asked him what had changed, and he basically said that he had figured it out and that he found strength in a memory. And this line, in my opinion, is extremely important, and it will be extremely important in this show in season 5. Mark my fucking words. The fact that he says that he found strength in a memory, okay? Because then right after that, he says a sad but angry memory. But my question to each and every single one of you is, does that mean that if you find strength in a happy memory, that could be even fucking stronger? Because he talks about a sad and angry memory, and we get that hint back in season 2 when we met Kali. When she's trying to teach 11 how to use her powers, she tries to put in her mind that she needs to use sad and angry fucking memories, because that's how Kali has done it. So the even bigger question is did Kali tell number 1 that, or did number 1 tell Kali that? Because right after that, he uses this to his fucking advantage. And this is when he starts talking about the mama flashback. Because right after that, he asked 11 himself, do you have a memory just like that? And then he starts talking about her memory himself. She doesn't even get a chance to start explaining this. He starts talking about that specific memory that we all know as fans of this show, and all the way back from when she met Mama, that this memory makes her sad and angry. So in this moment, he already knew to use that to his advantage to get into Eleven's head. But the major question is how does he know that Terry came there and did this shit? And how does he know that this is Eleven's mom? Because right away he starts talking about that situation, and he says, do you remember a woman that came to see you that one day? And he mentions Kali again, and he basically says that's when 8 used to be here. And he's talking directly about that fucking flashback in that moment when she walked in. So my bigger question to you is we know Kali is not there, and he says it right here, but is the reason Kali is not there is because he tried to help her the same way? And also, did he use this mama flashback to tell this to Kali as well, making her escape, and also thinking that Terry Ives was also her mama in order for her to trust him? That's the big question I want to know, and that could have some answers as to why Mama showed us Kali whatsoever, and why Kali is actually involved in this show or this situation whatsoever. Because if you really think about it, and I don't want to talk too much about Kali because I have the Lost Sister theory coming out soon with the full analysis about Kali and Eleven's meeting and everything we see in that fucking episode involving Kali, and it gets super fucking interesting. But I want you to keep in mind that a lot of what we heard from when we met Kali, we're hearing now involving number one. So I want to know your thoughts about if you think that number one could have told Kali this in the same exact situation involving Mama's flashback. And this meaning that Kali could have thought that Terry Ives was her mama. And then she would have escaped and she would have got out and went to Mama's house thinking that's her mom, because all her and Eleven knew, and Kali should have this memory as well, is that a woman came in saying the name Jane. We do not know which child she was going to grab. And if Kali thought that was her mom and escaped and went all the way to find her and found out it was not her mom, imagine how much regression and hate she is going to have, not just towards number one, but towards 11 as well. So there is your fucking answers, people, as to why Kali could be in Mama's flashback whatsoever. And that could be the reason why Mama's flashback even starts with her looking up right after 11 says, Mama, I'm home. And she looks up like she's angry and she says, no. And you know what I'm fucking talking about. And you know how confused everybody fucking has been about Mama saying no to 11. But the flashback and the full flashback that we see, that is not part of the flashback. That is while Mama is in her head. So could that actually be from a moment that Mama told that to Kali if Kali came to visit Mama, thinking that that was her mom? So think about that, people, because number one even says this moment that she was calling a name to you and that was her mom. So you really got to think about it, that if number one had any influence in Kali's life and Kali's escape, that he could have said this same exact story to her and Kali could have believed it because she was so naive and did not know why she was there. We really don't know a lot about Kali, and we are definitely going to figure this shit out in the Lost Sister theory coming soon involving Kali directly and her and 11's meeting. But think about that, people, because he even says the name shit, and it even shows us from the floor up that Mama was grabbing one of those children, saying the name Jane. And if one of those children thought that she was talking about her, the one that she really wasn't talking about is going to be extremely upset and pissed later on in life because they thought that that was her family and it wasn't. And Kali even says that, and that's the only hint I'm going to give you involving the Lost Sister theory, is that Kali even says that she escaped and found a family, okay? But that family did not work out for her, okay? Just like everything else. So really fucking think about it, people. But right away, 11 interjects and she goes, no, that's not right. Mama's dead. She died at birth, okay? And that's apparently what Papa had told her. So I want to know your thoughts about that as well. And that also connects to this whole Kali thing, is that if Papa told 11 that her mom died at birth, Does he tell all of these other kids that? And do all of these other kids think that they don't have families or parents? That's the biggest question here. And there's also a huge question as to how does Henry know about this? How does he know about the mama situation? And how does he know that she came to find one of the children? I know that he's at Hawkins' lab and that he's working in this situation, okay? But keep in mind that they're extremely secretive. And the people that were in that room or around that room when all of that shit happened, and also the people that were there when she walked in that day, he's not going to be anywhere near those people or that fucking rainbow room for that matter. And we don't know that for sure. But if he was around that rainbow room, that one with the picture out in front of it, what was he doing all the way upstairs and not downstairs in the basement where that fucking real rainbow room is? And we know Henry that he is a patient and a lab rat. So why would he be up there, and how could he have seen that situation is the question. So I want to know your thoughts about all of this, okay? Because right after that, 11 says that, and then she gets the realization, because he used it to his advantage earlier, that Papa doesn't always tell the truth. And I want you to keep in mind that he is totally getting into her fucking head right in this moment, because this is when she gets the realization, even in her own flashback, that Papa doesn't always tell the truth. So the question is also, do they know, Brenner and Owens and all of these scientists, that that's what Henry said to her in that moment? Because right after that in that flashback, that's when Papa burst in and he stops that conversation and kind of gives Henry and 11 a look. And he gives him a look like he doesn't know what's going on. So I want to know your thoughts about all of this, people, and I hope you like this one. This was a very fucking interesting conversation. But I want to ask you one more thing, okay? And I want to jump back to how he says, you remind me of someone I knew very well, all right? In my opinion, I still have this thought, and I will forever have this thought until season 5 comes out, is that Alice Creel is still fucking alive, and that we are going to see her later in season 5, and we are going to see her be Mama. And you already know, if you've seen my other theories involving that there's some proof that she could still be alive, and there's a lot of things that connect her directly to Terry Ives. And Terry Ives has always sounded like a fake-ass Hawkins Labs created name, if you ask me. But my question is when he says, you remind me of someone I used to know very well, and we know he's talking about himself, or at least we think we know. So the big motherfucking question is, people, is he really talking about himself in this moment? Or is he talking about his younger sister being Alice Creel, who I think is Terry Ives, who would also be 11's mama? And that, in my opinion, would totally remind him of somebody that he used to know very well, especially since what we know he tries to do to 11 at the very fucking end of this, and what we think he accomplished involving his younger sister Alice Creel. So let me know your thoughts, people. It's your boy Brandon, DLA Alternative. I hope you liked this one, and this conversation was extremely interesting to me, and I hope it was to you too. Let's keep fucking growing this family, keep subscribing, liking, and following this journey. And in my opinion, people, we are on the road to 1K, so let's fucking get it. I was never gonna say it, but we are on the journey to 1,000 subs. I love each and every single one of you. It's your boy Brandon, DLA Alternative, and you guys already know, we out.